Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus and take to the sky. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest.
Loveless, Act 1.
You remember?
How can I not, when you've beaten it into my head?
Hello and welcome back to a video for Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. I had the luxury of sitting down with this fantastic game earlier before its release on the 13th of December to be able to play this. So thank you so much to Square Enix for providing me with a review copy, and I am so excited to share with you my first impressions for this game. So let's get to that. When it comes to older games that you have a strong nostalgia for, be it Final Fantasy games or other, it can be difficult to not have those rose-tinted expectations when remakes and remasters of those same experiences get released. It makes me rather happy to tell you then that Crisis Core Reunion is overall, I think, at least in my opinion, a better game than the original. That's the TLDR, that's what you wanted to know. But let's go into why I think this. So the original Crisis Core had several limitations on the PlayStation Portable, the original release console, and in fact, the only original way of playing that game. These limitations actually bred incredible innovations, I think, in combat that form the core of how a PSP game could handle such a breathtakingly difficult prospect of, well, creating a worthy predecessor to, at this point, nearly hallowed Final Fantasy VII back on the PlayStation 1. The bar was set, and I think largely they nailed it originally, even with those limitations. Where the new Crisis Core Reunion adds to that is in its modernization of the combat, which, looking back, was slightly cumbersome and definitely a product of the times. The new smooth, reactive controls in Reunion are an absolute pleasure in your hands. I played on the PlayStation 5 controller plugged into my Steam version that they gave me, and it feels absolutely fantastic. At times I saw myself asking, was the combat always this fluid? And it's kind of changed how I saw the original. I'm doing so much better than when I was younger, and that's fairly obvious as skill, comes with maturity. But it's not just that. The game is just 10 times easier to play, and that's because the controls are so well thought out. What makes this feel easier to enjoy then is that the game also runs really well, like seriously well. Higher frame rates are available, obviously outside of the limitations of a PlayStation Portable, and the fast-paced combat is a must, for a game like this. It needs to be smooth with those high frames in combat. This is why games like Devil May Cry are so much fun to play, and the same applies here. Any hack and slash is the same. If you never played the original PSP game, you're in for a treat, and it stands proudly by the side of Final Fantasy VII Remake in terms of ease of control, fluidity of switching between magic, materia, skills, and pure damage with blocking and rolling. It just feels fantastic. It's a real treat. Now, I can't really talk about the storyline, and I'm fine with that. I don't want to really spoil a game like this. It is a fantastic revelation. Play it yourself. It is exactly the same, however, as the original, is all I will say. So if you're expecting this to be like Remake for Final Fantasy VII, thankfully it's not that way. A lot of people will be happier. If you're worried that they massacred your boy, just know that everything is as it was, but better with a nice layer of polish and smoothness.
So you don't have any regrets. So, what do you say we go down to 1 and head to Sector 8?
They voiced every single piece of dialogue in the game. I could not believe that. That's one of the biggest things that attracts me to this. Even seemingly unimportant lines of dialogue from main characters, between cutscenes, and even from normal NPCs like the random women that are fan club members.
We were just talking about who the greatest soldier member is.
The voice work isn't too shabby either, with returning legendary talent from VII Remake, such as Brianna White for Aerith.
You okay? The sky frightens me, like it's sucking me in. Weird, right?
And we've got people like Caleb Pierce for Zack, Tyler Hoechlin for Sephiroth, Bill Millsap as Angeal, Sean Cond as Genesis, and Cody Christian playing Cloud. Just adds so much more to the story, as I have much less to read and imagine, and more to listen and take in. And that really helps having a top-notch cast, even for the side characters, which I didn't find cringy, which normally in games that do this, I do.
People who come from the slums, they fall into one of two categories. They either hate Shinra, or they idolize it.
Lately, the Shinra company seems to be having a lot of problems.
It's been a while since I came out from the country, but I still can't get used to life in Midgard.
That getup. Are you with that Shinra outfit soldier? I hate Shinra with a passion. I want nothing to do with you.
Very cool stuff. My immersion in this title story is uncomparable to the original, and it just adds more than you'd think. This extends to the point where you could easily take it for granted, play the original, and have a much less engaging experience. We take so much of this for granted, and honestly, it is a game changer. The audio. Holy moly, I have to talk briefly about the brand new arrangement of the game's soundtrack by Ishimoto Takaharu. It is a faithful rendition of the original, and all of your favorite tracks are still in there, but they just pop so vibrantly from the soundscape. I mean, it's just a really nice rendition, just another part of the game brought back to life with much higher fidelity and quality. In a world of remakes and remasters, a good majority of which feel almost sometimes like blatant cash grabs, I'm happy to say this isn't one of them, or at least it doesn't feel like it. The respect to the original and the sheer love they've put back into this story that many would just simply never get to enjoy because it was on the PSP and never on any other mainline console or machine. This is exactly what a remaster or a remake should be, in my opinion, a revisitation, existing to let audiences fill the blanks in epic stories by bringing it to more accessible and modern consoles. And of course, now on the PC on Steam, which also means that it works on the Steam Deck. I played this on PC, but I did actually do some Steam Deck testing as well, and the game ran unsurprisingly near perfect. Like Square Enix's Final Fantasy VII Remake, which also actually blew my mind with how ran it well on the deck, Reunion is very much near perfect too, with a little bit of tweaking. Specifically, I just turned off the VSync mode and put it to a 60 frame limit on the actual console, and the game was just as smooth as butter, with only the very, very occasional frame jump when I was loading into a new area, which, let's be honest, is nothing to really worry about. This is the definitive way to play Crisis Core. I don't really know what else to say. It is just exactly what I wanted from it, and 10 times more. I could go into further detail about magic and materia and all of those cool things, but it's basically the same as it always was, just now brought to a new audience, smoother, much more refined. The UI is better. The graphics are just mind-blowing. The music is better. The voice cast, for the most part, is better. It's a much more complete part of the missing chronicle of this storyline, and it's a must-play if you want to know what happened. If you've played Remake, well, you want to know who Zack is for a certain fact, and it acts as a perfect intermediary between the next chapter of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think it's called Rebirth, isn't it, the next chapter? So this acts as a bridge to that. And what a perfect time to bring it out. Anyway, I'm going to stop blabbering here and stop telling you how much I enjoyed this experience. And hopefully this will be enough to convince you, especially with the visuals on screen right now, to go and maybe try this out for yourself. I think your value for money is certainly there. So highly recommended. Alright, hopefully that was helpful as a first impressions video, but I had to do this. It was just such a great opportunity, and thank you to Square Enix for letting me try this game out early. Much love, and I'll see you all next time.